Hello everyone, it is I, Mark S.W. Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, do please subscribe and hit the notification bell. Now, for the last couple of years, I've been talking about TV shows that I used to watch, or I currently like, something for you guys to check out during quarantine. I've talked about children's shows, education shows, comedy shows, but this time I'm only going to talk about one particular show, a show that some people may not remember or have never heard of. The show in question that I'm going to talk about is called Rescue Robots. It was a CITV game show made in 2003. It was presented by Anna Williams, one of many CITV presenters, and it was produced by Mentorn, the same production team that gave us Robot Wars and Techno games. Now, there were supposed to be 15 episodes of Rescue Robots, but unfortunately only 7 were broadcasted. Well, thanks to today's technology, I'm pleased to say that you can now watch all 15 episodes. Now, Rescue Robots and most Mentorn shows are now owned by Mech Plus. This video isn't sponsored by them, but I want to thank them for giving me permission to make this video, and in return I shall talk a bit more about them. Mech Plus is a brand new streaming website where you can watch live or stream TV shows that involve robotics, engineering and science. Some of these shows were made back in the 90s or even the noughties, and they've been HD restored. So you can watch, as I mentioned, the 15 episodes of Rescue Robots. You can also watch the first 7 series of Robot Wars, including the 2 extremes, and a special behind-the-scenes Series 2 series starring Philippa Forrester. Also available, you can watch Techno games, Beyond Our Earth, Car Warriors, and other TV shows that involve science, engineering and robotics. So if you're into those categories and genres, then it's worth taking a look. They also have a YouTube channel and a Twitter page, so you can follow them and see what other shows they're going to be uploading. So now you can either go ahead and watch Rescue Robots, or if you want to know what it's about first, then stay here and I'll give you the details. This is the primer, so to speak. Like I said, Rescue Robots is a game show for CITV. In fact, the idea came from Robot Wars contestant Adam Clark, who made Robots, Corporal Punishment and 259. It was sort of like a cross between Thunderbirds and Crystal Maze. A team of children have to control 5 robots to carry out rescue missions that are impossible or too dangerous for a human to attempt. The robots were designed and built by Chris Reynolds from the BBC Visual Effects department, same people who did the house robots. And like most things that come in 5, they have the standard colours: blue, green, red, yellow and orange, just like the Thunderbird machines. Only these vehicles, they're more like the pod vehicles that come out of Thunderbird 2. The first robot is Transporter, a 6-wheeled utility robot. It has an interchangeable midsection, depending on what kind of rescue missions it's used for. Sometimes it will carry a large tank with water and a cannon, so that's used for firefighting missions, or sometimes it will be replaced with a flatbed so it can carry heavy loads, hence the name Transporter. When driving Transporter, it was a bit tricky for the operators because it's the longest rescue robot vehicle, so turning corners was a bit difficult. The second robot is Muscles, a multi-purpose lifting crane. This has 2 methods of lifting. The first one is to lift things up from underneath, like a tower that's fallen down or a barrier that's blocking the way. The second method, it has an electromagnet at the end of its arm so it can pick up metallic objects. The next robot, Talon, a technologically advanced robot. Like Muscles, it's used for picking things up, but it doesn't use a magnet, it uses a grappling claw. This was useful for picking up objects that are more complex, but controlling Talon wasn't easy. There's 4 articulation motions in its tool, because not only does the claw open and close, the arm goes up and down, but also the arm swings from left to right, and the claw could sort of pivot up and down. I think that's the right term for it. But whether the operators were using Talon or Muscles, these robots would usually be used to pick things up and load onto Transporter. The next robot is Ranger, a combat robot designed for defense or demolition tasks. It has a circular saw that can cut through anything, and a turret with 2 demolition missiles. It also has advanced sensors which can be used to either detect poison gas or if it needs to perform wireless transmissions. And finally, my favourite rescue robot, Blade, a 6-wheel drive bulldozer with a big scoop at the front for pushing rocks and boulders. At the back of Blade, it sometimes has pods which are used for carrying explosive charges for demolition tasks or missions that require a controlled explosion. These charges can only be picked up by Talon. So now you know a bit more about the robots, I shall explain how the game works. The team consists of 4 children. One of them is the commander, the other 3 operate the 3 robots that are chosen for the mission. All this takes place at the Rescue Robot Command Center. It's meant to be like a subterranean headquarters. The team are given their mission briefing and the consequences of what would happen if they fail. And there's a number of stages they have to complete in order to complete the mission successfully. All this takes place in the fictional model town called Calamity City, which is made out of 5 areas. There's the city itself, an industrial area, so that has things like warehouses, factories, pipelines and storage tanks. A forest, which has a dam, a lake, a farm, and of course lots of trees, that's why it's a forest. A mountain, which has a path for the robots to go along, a canyon and a couple of tunnels. And a desert, which is usually where most of the rescue missions take place. It has a mine shaft, a gas well, and sometimes it has a minefield, but most of the time it has different types of objects or facilities that are involved in the mission. Calamity City is one of the largest miniature sets ever built for any children's game show. It's built on a 1:100 scale, and it's about 80 square meters in size. So that's big, very big. Now whether the team complete their mission or not, they're all given an ACE rating. They're all judged on their ability, communications and effort, and the one with the highest ACE rating is highly commended. But if the team do complete their mission, then they're awarded a medal. Now, as I mentioned, only 7 episodes were broadcasted out of the 15. The reason why it was cancelled for a short time was because ITV had a new management and the programming plans had a dramatic change to them. So you could say 2003 was just unlucky timing for new shows. This is why Rescue Robots is one of those rare kids game shows that some people just don't remember. In fact, usually most of the game shows for children that people don't remember are on CITV. The most popular ones on there are Jungle Run and Funhouse, but as far as I know, that was it. Most of the popular kids game shows are usually on CBBC. Game shows like 50/50, Bamzooki, Get Your Own Back, Raven, it's an endless list. But some of these game shows, whether they're rare or well known, they are good, and in my opinion, I think Rescue Robots was brilliant. Some of the missions in Rescue Robots are very similar to real life disasters, so it shows the kids that time is never on their side, what it's like to work under pressure, and how it's very important to stay calm in any emergency situation, because the more calm you are, you can think clearly and plan your strategy, and that's what the commander has to do. There are some episodes that do show some brilliant teamwork, and I'm impressed by them. But of course there are some teams where they don't work well. This is because they spend most of their time panicking, they think with their mouths rather than their brains, or they don't listen to their commander and they're not communicating well. But apart from those episodes, check out the ones where they do succeed and work well. Another reason why I like Rescue Robots is because it has a lot to offer. There's a lot of different genre in it. It gets people into robotics as well, but it also has pyrotechnics, as in like explosions. It's got rescue missions, it's a game show, and it's got model scenery. It offers so much, and I think if Rescue Robots made toys, like if they came out as remote control, like in Hexbug, or even if they're pullbacks, like with the Robot Wars toys, then that would get even more fans interested in the series. But alas, that never happened. But I think it deserves a second chance, and maybe Rescue Robots deserves a new series and perhaps a reboot, just like with Robot Wars. I think if Rescue Robots did come back for a reboot, then I think it will really attract a new generation of fans, especially if it's presented well. How would I do it? Well, I've got a whiteboard here with some ideas. There we go. I don't know if you can see it because of the light. Okay, I've closed the curtain, so you can just see the reflection of my camera. Anyway, this is the Rescue Robot Command Center. This is what it would look like, well, the reboot version. So the children would be waiting here on this corridor. This door would slide open, and then the presenter would introduce them. So this is where they would stand. It's social distancing. This table here would have a map of Calamity City, and that's where Anne would stand, or have the new presenter, and then the commander would stand there. This control panel allows the operator to see the onboard cameras on the rescue robots. They would be on these screens, but I thought in the reboot, give them 3 screens rather than 1, make it easier. As an extra feature, got a little computer there. And then down below, I don't know if you can see it, this is the control booths where the operators would control the rescue robots. But usually there'd be 3, but I thought, why not have all 5? For 2 reasons. Then you could have a mission, like a Christmas special, where all 5 robots are needed. And the second reason is to change the controls so they're not all the same. In the original series, the controls were 2 joysticks and 2 levers. Well, I was thinking maybe replace them, or keep the joystick for like moving about, but maybe give better controls. So with some of the robots, it's easier to control. So that's the changes to the Rescue Robot Command Center. As for the robots themselves, I mentioned onboard cameras, but they're usually facing front. Sometimes they're not at good angles, like with Transporter's onboard camera, it's usually facing on the ground rather than facing where it's going. So maybe change the cameras so it's at a better angle, and also give a rear camera so in case they have to reverse so they know where they're going. As for the robots themselves, to make it easier, well, I mentioned with the controls, so if they had specific controls for a robot, it might be easier for maybe Talon, because as I mentioned, there's a lot of articulation in the arm, but it's very difficult to maneuver, so maybe with better controls it might make it easier. Another thing I would do, maybe make the claw open a bit wider, or give it different types of claws depending on what type of objects it has to pick up during the mission. Talking of picking up things, I would also modify the electromagnet on Muscles, make it more powerful to pick up metallic objects, because in the original series it's not that powerful, to be honest, because one jolt and Muscles could lose the connection and drop the object. So maybe make the magnet more powerful. For Ranger, maybe change the turret, so instead of just firing 2 missiles, turn it into a sort of multi-purpose cannon or a turret. Because in the CGI remake of Thunderbirds, we found out that Thunderbird 2 has a drop-down turret which fires all kinds of things, tow ropes, foam grenades, an EMP, so maybe do that with Ranger. As well as demolition missiles, it can also fire other things that could be useful for the mission. For Transporter, maybe replace his wheels with caterpillar tracks, because all the robots turn in the car steering way, so they would turn like that. Whereas with tracked vehicles, they have tank steering, so they can spin on the spot. So if Transporter had tracks, he could tank steer, and that will make it easier for him to turn. I would also add an extra feature on the flatbed if it's carrying certain objects, like depending on what type of object it's carrying, it could have a special feature to help delay the disaster. So say Transporter was carrying an object that was overheating, it could have some sort of cooling system to help cool down the object, so it buys them some time. As for Blade, honestly I can't think of many modifications for him, but there is one thing you could do. It was said on the CITV Wikipedia that if Rescue Robots had a second series, they would have new terrain, new landscape for the rescue robots to explore. One of them would be a polar Arctic wasteland. So if you're going to have like snow and ice, maybe replace Blade's scoop with a snowplow for snow missions, because snowplows are V-shaped, so it's easier to cut through the snow. But apart from that, I can't think of many modifications for Blade. Also, because of this idea of having new landscapes, maybe don't have it all set in Calamity City. Maybe base the robots there, that's their headquarters, and maybe expand Calamity City so it has things like an airport or a harbour, like dockside. But also make like the missions look like they take place all over the world. So rather than just restrict it all to Calamity City. Because other landscapes they mentioned they could have, if there was a series 2, would be like a tropical jungle. So you could have things like a volcano there perhaps. And also a much bigger desert, much bigger than the one in Calamity City. And the final thing I would change, you know, in some computer games, they have like a progress bar. Like, you have to complete a certain number of percentage in order to either get some rewards or move on to the next level. And I think I would introduce that feature for this Rescue Robots reboot. The reason is because there are some episodes in some of the failed missions. Honestly, the team do have some partial success. You could say they're 90% completed the mission, or even 80 or 70. But of course, in the original series of Rescue Robots, they have to be 100% complete. Maybe in this reboot, they don't need to be 100% complete. Just maybe, like I said, maybe 90, 80, or whatever. Of course, it would be good if the mission was 100% complete, but it's just a thought. It could depend on what kind of rescue mission it is. It's like that speech that Jeff Tracy gave in the Thunderbirds episode, Danger at Ocean Deep. If a building falls down, you could just build it back up again. But with life, it's different. So if it's a life-threatening mission, it does need to be 100% complete. I think you know what I mean. But those are just my ideas. If Rescue Robots ever got a second series or a reboot, and who knows, maybe we'll get some toys if it did come back as a reboot. Yeah, have Hexbug make remote control Rescue Robots, and then you can have your own rescue missions. But if you have any thoughts or ideas for a Rescue Robots reboot, or if you want to share your opinions about Rescue Robots, do comment them down below. I'd like to see them. And if you've enjoyed this primer, do give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so you know when I next upload a video. Once again, a big thank you to Mech Plus for allowing me to make this video. And I hope you guys do go and check out their website, enjoy the content they have, and thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Over and out.